This is Matthew Cox. The notorious fraudster might be one of the most notorious mortgage scammers the United States has ever seen. At the height of his career, he was being hunted by the FBI and the Secret Service as their #1 most wanted criminal in all of the United States. Different amounts have been stated on how much he might have stolen. We have numbers ranging from $10 million all the way up to an excess of $55 million. First, we discuss a step-by-step analysis of his process to scam the banks out of this money. Next, we touch on his time behind bars and how he spent over 10 years in federal prison and the stories that go along with that. Lastly, we also touch on the crypto zoo fiasco revolving around Logan Paul. Matt gives his knowledge on fraud and gives an expert opinion on what he thinks might have truly happened with the whole fiasco. Matt is a master storyteller, and his way of crafting stories will keep you interested till the very last minute. So sit back, relax, and get ready for another episode of No Offense.
Three, two, one. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to No Offense. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. By popular demand, we have Matt Cox back again with us. Thank you very much for coming on again. We appreciate it. Always good to see you.
Thank you. No problem.
So, Matt, you were like naturally one of our highest view videos. So what we wanted to do by having you back on again, was to get more of like the inside. Through that whole podcast, we've very much skimmed over everything. Like we all said, like we were just flying over the whole story. I want to get more in depth of like the actual fraud part of it and like the steps behind it per se. So let's start with like when you first started, what was your initial process in learning it? We did go over that last time, how you kind of learned it, but at that first, I believe it was the mortgage company, right? Where you first did it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. What was like more of the process behind what you did there? Like starting with that.
I mean, the first time I committed fraud, I literally just, there are different forms to, it's not sexy, bro. Yeah. This is what I tell you right now. This is not going to be clickbait type.
We're trying to make like a how-to course. That's what we're doing here. We're selling a how-to course, and we're going to give you a piece of the royalties.
You know what's so funny about that is that, and I don't want to sound. What do you guys do?
We're in marketing. We have a marketing agency.
Okay.
That's what we do during the day.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, I don't really know anything about marketing, but it's not a good comparison for me. But let's say, it's like, oh, you apply for a loan. Someone fills out, I don't know if you guys have ever bought a house, but you fill out like an application. Mm-hmm. So you fill out an application, and there are all these hurdles that you have to overcome. And then there's paperwork that has to prove. Because if you go in and say, yeah, my name's Matt Cox, I make $200,000 a year, and they go, do you have money to put down on your down payment? Yeah, I got $100,000 in the bank. People start rattling stuff off. Well, the problem is then you have all these forms that verify that. So, and you think, okay, well, what does that mean? That means that this form goes to your bank, and this form goes to your apartment complex, and this form goes to, to the appraiser, and this form goes. Do you see what I'm saying? So, So you could fill out a mortgage application. In the course of that mortgage application, maybe the customer lies to you and says, "I've been on my job 5 years." Typically, they just answer correctly because they feel they're in a position to buy a house. So they say, "Oh, I've been on the job for a year." And you go, "Okay, what kind of job were you?" They say, "Oh, I make $50,000 a year." Okay. What kind of job is it? And they go, "Oh, I work in construction." You go, "Okay. And so what'd you do before that?" Because you need 2 years of job history. And they go, "Oh, before that I worked at Wendy's. I was a manager at Wendy's." "Oh, okay. I made about the same amount of money." "Okay. Okay, well, listen, and about a year from now, when you've been on the job 2 years in construction," they go, "Well, what are you talking about?" "I make $50,000. I made it for the last 2 years." "Yeah, but you just changed your job, your career. One is in construction. One of them, were a fry cook at Wendy's. One's food and one's construction. Now, maybe you could get away with saying you were a manager at both places, but you just right there, You're saying, wait, but I got 750 credit scores. That doesn't matter. You have to have job history. So, for instance, so what happens is when these things start falling apart, you very quickly realize what hurdles they have to meet. So as soon as a guy comes in, they start saying, like you literally start saying, oh, you're in construction? Yeah. What do you do? Oh, I put up drywall with my cousin. Oh, okay. You're like, okay, and what did you do before that? I worked at Wendy's before that. What'd you do there? Oh, I was a cook. So you already are starting to go, he's a manager in the construction site, and he was a manager at Wednesday, so he's in management. Okay,
that's
so
a consistent career path.
So you just tweak it.
I'm
You
in
tweak it
management.
just enough.
So you start to realize how do you tweak things.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, I've been in the same. If somebody walked in and said I was in the same apartment complex for 3 years, it's like nice. That's nice. But then if they turn around and they say, yeah, and you say, well, how do you pay your rent? You say, oh, I pay cash. You pay when you say cash. Do you mean with like actual physical cash? Yeah. It's a quadplex, and the guy owns it. He only takes cash. Well, that's an issue. No, he'll tell you that I pay on time. I always pay on time. That doesn't fucking matter. For all I know, that's your uncle.
Right.
True.
Now I got a problem. So, and really, to be honest with you, that's like a deal killer. You
Really?
basically, okay, start paying with a money order or with a check. No, he won't take a money order or check. Well, then move out of that place. That guy's no good. So you start figuring out, how do I fix these things for my customers so I can get the loan to go through, so I can charge them $2,500 or $3,500 and put 2 points on the back of the loan, so I can end up with a $6,500 fee, 30 of which I got to give to the owner of the company, or 40%, whatever. So I still end up with $4,000. So, that's $4,000. I need these to go through. And if
How would you fix that? How would you fix that cash one? If
Oh,
a guy's
the guy
paying
paying cash?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, initially, what I started doing was every single month, I did multiple things. I personally would go out and buy like $1,000 money order every month. So I knew in 2 years I'd have a $1,000 money order on the first or second of every month for 2 years. Now, sometimes I just bought 4 or 5 money orders, and I went through and I cut and pasted the numbers so they were different. And hopefully, and they're blank. You make 10 copies of them, 20 copies, 30 copies of each one of them, so that you can fill them out, make a copy, and then I can send in a verification of rent, the form, to the real landlord and have him fill it out and say, yeah, the guy pays $1,000 a month. So if they call him, they say $1,000 a month, and then I can show you 24 money orders showing he got a money order every single month. Now, and then you just hope and pray that the bank doesn't call to verify the money orders are real, because some of them have been changed. Or I ended up figuring out how to get a canceled check for rent. So there used to be these things called checks. So, you would mail the check in, and they put it in their bank, and then they put when it runs through the system, it has a bunch of numbers on the back of the check and on the front of the check, and it would say it went through for $800 on this date. So I started making blank ones. I took a bunch of my checks, cut and pasted them together, those little series of numbers, and I made them for January, February, March, April, May, but they're blank. So if my customer didn't have the ability to prove their rent, I would simply change the numbers, fill them out for them, and then in the upper left-hand corner, I would put their name and their address of wherever they lived. Does that make sense?
By making them, are you like legitimately cutting off these numbers with the exact knife with a glue stick?
Yes.
Have you guys seen White Collar?
Damn.
It kind of
Do you remember that showdown, White
Yeah.
Collar?
Yeah.
That reminds me of White Collar a little bit, with like
Yeah.
how you would forge documents and all that.
Right.
Super cool. Yeah.
Which, and the thing is that the great thing about making canceled checks, and I had tons of them. Like I had them for different banks, everything. So if somebody walked in and they said, oh, I'm with Bank of America, then I'd go, oh, okay. And I knew I had
amount.
a bunch of piles of blank things. What do you pay in rent? Oh, I paid $900. I'm like, yeah, I got a bunch of them for $850. I'll go with those. pull those out. And I had a drawer full of them. And the guys used to make fun of me. They used to say that I was doing I had little art projects going all the time. They were like, no, arts and crafts. He's got a little arts and crafts project going in here. What are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm fucking making sure your loan closes. That's what I'm doing.
I'm helping you out.
Right. They're like, you got blank bank statements on the in the corner over there. What are those for? That's for a down payment. That's to make sure the guy's got the money in the bank. So, I just started figuring out slowly, like when a loan falls apart, when you think you're about to make $4 or $5 grand and keep in mind $4 or $5 grand, that's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's like you guys you're about to get a check for $8 grand or $6 grand.
Yeah.
And suddenly it gets yanked out from your hands. You got a $1,000 car payment and $1,500 for your rent. You're like this.
I'd be pretty pissed off.
Yeah, I need this to close.
Yeah.
So you start realizing right away. You start to read people and figure out right away, like, is this person going to be a problem? Does he pay $900 a month? Is he paying on time? And so one of the things I did was my ex-wife at the time, I had her open a corporation called, it was a property management company called,
it was Chase Bank, but instead of an S, it was a C.
No, it was called Utopia Properties.
Utopia Properties.
No, right. So you got a Utopia Properties, and we got a business phone number. And that way, if they called, she could call back and verify, and it would come from Utopia Properties. And when someone called, it was, hey, hi, this is the Utopia Properties. No one's in, currently at the moment. If this is an emergency, please leave a number, some blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, what happened is you come in, you fill out an application. Maybe you've been on your job for 3 years and you're perfect. Maybe you've got your down payment. Maybe you've got perfect credit, but you don't have, and maybe I send off for your verification of rent and it comes back and you were late 6 months ago, you were late on your rent, 30 days. You were behind 30 days. You caught it up, but you were 30 days late. No bank wants to lend you 95% to buy a house for $200,000 when you've been late 30 days in the last 2 years. They are looking for stability. So I would get that document, and if I didn't think I could alter it, or if I thought they were going to call, I would swap out the document for one that went to a property management company that I was in control of. That way, if the underwriter called or the processor at the lender called, they would say, oh, who is this for? Hold on a second. Let me check. Oh, yeah. Jennifer? Yeah, no, Jennifer so-and-so. Yeah, she rents here. No. Has she ever been late? No, she's never been late. She's been here for 3 years. Did you fill this form out and send it in? Yeah, I sent it to the mortgage company. Oh, okay, thank you. Click. And if I wanted to get away from that at all, I just provide them canceled checks. Because they're not even going to call them a canceled check. Because they can see January 1st, February 3rd, January, February, March, April, May, June, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 2, they can see where they all went through. Mm-hmm. So they don't even call.
Do they always, usually are they pretty much calling all the time outside of that though? Are they really verifying pretty hard every time they're looking to provide someone with a loan?
Okay, so it depends. If it's a management company and you don't have actual documents to back it up, you just have a management company, they're going to call. If it's a legitimate management company, like if it's your grandmother, or your aunt, or let's say it's an individual. So if it's an individual, they're not even going to accept it. They might accept it if it's, let's say, FHA. Like FHA might say that's okay. Like, well, FHA is super loose. So they might be okay with that. But if it's somebody, you're borrowing $500,000 or $400,000 and you say, oh, I rent from this guy named Jim and I've rented for 3 years, like, they're not going to be okay with just calling Jim up and him saying, yeah, he pays real good.
He's a great guy.
Yeah,
you can give him the loan.
Yeah. I filled out that form. He's good. Yeah, they're going to want canceled checks. They're going to want, unless it's a property management company. If it's a property management company, they'll call and take their word for it, and they don't require the canceled check because they know that a property management company, they feel they're not going to lie.
Right.
Sure.
But they will also check to make sure that it's a property management company. Does that make sense? Like they're
Yeah.
going to check. Like you can't just say, oh yeah, it's ABC Property Management Company, because they're going to look it up and say, no, there's no ABC Property Management Company. Or maybe they go, yeah, there is one, but it doesn't have a business phone number. You're calling me from a cell phone. You know, this isn't a business line.
They're doing their due diligence the same way they would on someone else, essentially, for the PM company. Yeah.
Correct. So, but they will take their word for it.
Yeah.
If it's a legitimate corporation and it's got a business phone number, then they're going to be like, yeah, it's an apartment complex. They'll verify. Like, we'll take that.
Do you think there's still, do you think it's still fairly easy to do some of the things that happened in the past today, or do you think they've really tightened up on a lot of stuff?
No, I mean, I know, I got a couple of buddies that own mortgage companies. They're like, okay. So let me tell you some of the things that changed. Like it used to be that the mortgage broker could order the appraiser, right? He could go to call an appraiser and order his own appraisal and send it to the bank. Now the banks are like, no, we'll order the appraisal from one of our appraisers that are on our list. We'll trust you. You know, so that's a problem. Well, that would be a problem for what I was doing.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Yeah.
You know, because I would get a house that had no carpet in it or was in, you know, it was in bad shape, and we would alter the appraisals and send them in, and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
But that's not going to work anymore. But the majority of what I did would work perfectly fine. Now you've got some banks that actually pull documents directly from the IRS. Right?
Okay.
A lot of people tell you, oh, they all do it, but they don't all do it. Only a few do it. And it's like, okay, if they're buying a house over, let's say $400,000, then we need, now if they're W-2'd, they don't do it. But if they're like, oh, they have 1040s, right? Like they're self-employed. Oh, no, we're going to pull directly from we're going to get your 1040s, but we're going to go to the IRS and make sure that they have the same numbers. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that could be an issue. I mean, there's ways around that, but
Sure.
Naturally.
Well, you know, which is so funny, because the moment you find a way around something like that, you become so solid, right? Like it's like, because what happens is they put up this huge wall. And if you just get through the wall, once you're inside, like everything's available. Nothing's locked up.
Yeah.
You know, now you're at the candy store. Like now it's like, oh man, all I got to do is this. So if you can get past that one thing, and there's definitely ways to get past that, then you get past it. And now it's like, so you're saying that if I can prove to you that I make $800,000 a year, you'll lend me whatever it is, $4 million yes. So you're like, well, I just got to figure out how to get around that. And now you really have some access to some money. So yeah, I mean, that's what, you know, it's like, it was a slow process. Like it was, you get caught and you figure out a way around it. You get caught, you figure out a way around it.
Besides for the people we've heard of, what was like some of like the craziest people you kind of worked with that like people wouldn't expect? Like maybe like their positions of power. Like, I don't know. I feel like you might have had interactions with people that probably shouldn't have been doing that, or people wouldn't expect them to be.
I don't even understand what that question was. What was the question?
Like people that you did like this, like the fraud with. Like, was there anybody like politicians, police officers, anything like that you worked with ever to like do stuff like this?
You know, like I've done crooked loans for lawyers. There's a lawyer in Tampa that's here to this day. And the great thing is I could actually tell you his name because there's thousands of them, because he was an Indian guy named Patel. No, not an Indian guy named Patel. We know exactly who that is. But it was funny because he had just graduated law school. Like you just graduated law school, and he wanted to buy a house, and he wanted to buy the house to turn it into his an office, and the house would appraise at like $400,000 or something. So, but it was selling for like 200. So he puts down like 40. We made it look like he put down like $40,000, and he gets back like $80,000. So he's walking away with $40,000 and the house. He got, instead of getting like an 80% loan LTV, right? Like a loan to value of 80%. he's getting like 120 or 130%. So he puts his down payment back. He puts his down payment down, and he gets it back, and he gets 40 grand.
It's a sweet deal.
Right. What's so
deal.
funny is that like he didn't go under. He stayed in that office was there for years and years. They've now bulldozed it and built another office, but he's in the same location. Like he bulldozed it, put another office up.
So you helped that man. You helped.
But that's a lawyer, you know. So
Yeah.
I've done multiple loans for lawyers, and I've done them for. I had a sheriff's deputy that we did. I bet you his wife bought 12 duplexes. You know, we got like maybe 4 or 5 loans in his name, and every one of them, he brought like 30,000 to closing and got back like 60 or 80,000.
Jesus.
You know, and this is like a cop. Like he shows up at the closing where it's completely crooked, and he shows up in his uniform.
Oh my God.
And so you're like, he walks in, and you know everybody at the table knows something's like this is off. Like if I walked into the room, it was one of my closings, and I go to the title company. As soon as I got there, everybody in the building got stiff. Like they're all like. But, you know, they used to call me that I dated a chick at the title company. So they called me Darth Vader. They're like, I was like, why Darth Vader? She's because like they said like you'll bring people over to the dark side, like you'll, you know. And I was like, oh my God, which was so true. But so I, you know, so I remember everybody there knew this guy's getting a check back for like 80 grand. He's coming with 20, he's getting 80 back on like, and he walks in his uniform, and I was like. And I remember when it was all over, I was like, do you realize how fucking uncomfortable you made everybody? He goes, oh, that's why I did it. That's why I did it.
That's awesome.
His name was Steve Sutton.
No way.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, Steve.
I used to love Steve Sutton. So I had a politician. I had a politician I bribed one time. Well, I didn't bribe him once. That's not true. I bribed him twice. And he was walking through my neighborhood. And he's walking through the neighborhood, and he sees me. He goes, "Hey man, do you mind if I put a sign in front of in front of your house?" And I went, "For what?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm running for it was city council of this area." And I went, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "What is what's your stance on urban renewal, on taking these vacant lots, bulldozing these houses, putting new houses? Like, what's your?" He goes, "Oh, I'm pro development. I'm super pro development." I said, "Put that sign in there." And I told him, "Yeah, we own like 100 vacant lots in this area." I started telling him where they were, and I said, "We're building new houses and this and that." He was like, "Okay." And I said, so we talked for an hour, and he said, "Well, if I get in, I could probably help you with those vacant lots. Like, I mean, it depends on where they are, but I can certainly make it, try and do something with you." And so I said, "Okay." I said, so I gave him like $250. Like you could only donate up to like $250.
Yeah.
No, wait. It was $500. An individual, I think, could give you $500. A corporation could give you $1,000. And I gave him like $500. And he said, "Oh man, I appreciate it." I said, "Yeah, no problem." I said, "Matter of fact," I said, "why don't you come by tomorrow? Can you come by tomorrow?" He said, "Yeah." "What time?" And we came with a time. So my business partner was there at that time, and we sat down with him, and I said, "How much would it cost for you to win?" And believe it or not, like city council's seats, it doesn't cost that much to run a little campaign. They're little tiny seats, right? So it's not like a county commissioner, that's a little bit more, or a mayoral campaign is even more, right? So this guy said, honestly, my campaign is going to cost about 20 grand to run. He said, to win. Like I'll probably win this with 20 grand. I said, well, how much do you have? And he goes, "Right now I got like 6 grand. He said, I'm kind of out here raising money. And we went, "Okay." I said, "So if I got you $14,000, you'd win this." And he said, "Yeah." And so my business partner and I look at each other, and we go, if I give you 14 grand, I said, "You're going to get the vacant lots. You'll help me get these single family vacant lots rezoned multifamily. And he goes, absolutely. I said, because listen, this isn't a gift, bro. I said, I'm just letting you know. It's not this. He goes, no, I understand. This is absolutely an exchange. He said, I understand. He said, no, absolutely. I will make sure that happens. I said, okay. I said, can you come by tomorrow? And he said, yeah. The next day, he came by and I tried to give him $14,000 in cash. And he was like, I can't take $14,000 in cash. He said, no, it's got to be donations. And I said, oh, are you serious? And he goes, yeah. So I said, all right, well, give me a couple days. So I went to my employees. Each one of them wrote a check for $500. So that's like, that was like $6 or $7 grand. Then I went to my parents. I had them write a check. I went to my sister, my brother-in-law. I went to a couple buddies who own corporations, had them. So I ended up with like $14,000. I come back and I give him the checks. He's like, man, that's perfect. Fucking tied. He tied.
No way.
He tied.
Oh my God.
You know, and what am I going to say?
Yeah.
It's not like his fault. He, I know it's
Do
not a
better.
guarantee.
Yeah, true.
So I was like, fuck. And I go, man, I said, he said, listen, man, he said, there's a runoff between me and the other candidate. And he explained how basically several people were running for it. And because only the two top people run, he's like, I believe that I'll have more people because this person was more conservative than this one, and they won't be there. So those votes will go my way now. And I'm almost positive. He's like, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. What's that going to cost? And he goes, I can run the whole thing because they had to do it within 30 days. And he goes, you can only spend so much money in 30 days. He said, so it's going to be about 10 grand. He said, I go, how much do you still have? And he said, yeah, I got about 3 grand left. I said, so if I give you 7 grand, we're good. And he goes, yeah, we're good. I said, I'm not going to run around and get people to write fucking checks, bro. He said, just give me the cash. So I just went and I got him 7 grand in cash, gave him cash. He won. And just before we were supposed to have the properties rezoned, the FBI showed up in my office, and I had to leave. I had to leave town. It was a bad time. So I took off on the run. So he never did end up rezoning those lots. That was like $22,000. That was,
So he still owes you a favor.
I feel like, well, no, actually, I doubt he feels that way at all because when I eventually got caught, the FBI showed up and said, we noticed, oh, by the way, some of the accounts I wrote checks on were from fake people. So, like, I had all these fake people with accounts, and they were like, we noticed that, like, James Red wrote a check for $500 to this candidate. And I was like, right. We noticed that Brandon Green wrote a check for $500. I'm like, yeah, they're big political, they're really in politics.
These guys are active.
Very supportive. And they said, we talked to some of your employees. We also noticed that they wrote checks, and all of them basically said you came and gave them cash. They wrote checks. Yes. And they said,
Fucking
so you
narcs.
bribed this guy? And I said, yes. They said, was it a bribe? I said, absolutely, it was a bribe. And so they talked to they ended up talking to my business partner who said he was there during the conversation. Mm-hmm. And so there was a huge article came out in the newspaper because I was locked up. And they said, con man, Cox is in prison. And he says he bribed this politician. By the way, the guy was now a city councilman.
Oh, damn.
So now he's been moving up. So they said, like, the FBI comes and talks to me several times. They're interested, but the statute of limitations was up. And they were like, but we still want to talk to you about it. I was like, okay, why? Statute of limitations is up. So we have a whole conversation about it. And I explain everything. And then they leave. And like a year or 6 months later, they indict him for bribery. But not my bribery. They set up a sting, and he took money. Like, he took the money in a sting operation, and then he goes to trial. So he goes to trial, and he loses, and he ends up getting 3 or 4 years. And then the worst thing is that when the newspaper came out and said that I said I had bribed him and they had all these checks, his response was, he's just a jailhouse snitch trying to get out of prison.
Oh my God.
And 6 months later, they indict him. He goes to trial, loses, and goes to fucking prison. Not that that's not true. Not that what he said wasn't true, but it was offensive because he was acting like he didn't do anything. And it was like, you're a hypocrite.
So you are Darth Vader. You brought him to the dark side.
I was about to say, I was like, you kind of warmed him up to that.
Yeah, you're like a
He
gateway
probably
drug.
got that 21. He's probably got that 20 grade. He's like, fuck, I just do this with everybody. I mean,
Yeah,
fuck it.
He
This is
was
sweet.
already there. He
True.
He needed a push.
You need just a
Little
tiny little
nudge,
push.
just a nudge. So all this money that was happening in your life for all these years, obviously you were kind of killing it in some regard here. What was it like spending it? You know,
I was, everybody always says like, what's the most expensive thing you ever bought? Like, I had some Rolexes, but I didn't have like outrage. I wasn't like $30,000 Rolexes. Like they're like, what are they? 8 or 9, 10 grand, like a couple of Submariners, some, I think they're called the Oyster Perpetuals. They're like 6 grand or 8 grand or something. I don't think any of these things were more than 10,000. I had vehicles.
10 grand, that's a donation. Come on. That's not
That's right. I had some decent vehicles, but nothing like no vehicle was over $100,000.
Okay.
I mean, I guess in today's money, it might be more. Like, let's say I had an Audi that was like $90-something thousand, right? I never made a payment on that Audi. Actually, I bought the Audi. I bought the Audi.
There's always some twist.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I'm like,
I see.
I'm like, hold on. I'm like taking notes. I'm like, time out.
I want to fucking Jesus.
So I remember I financed the Audi, and I took off on the run in this Audi. Like it's roughly like 100 grand. So I take off on the run. I drove it for a few months, but by this point they're looking for it, and so we parked it in a garage, and then I ran a scam, and then we didn't want it found in the house, so I parked it in the police and there was a sub police station down the street, so I parked it in their parking lot. But I never made a payment on it. Like, I mean, like I walked in, I had perfect credit. I walked in, I applied for it. They gave me the loan. I got in the car, I left, never made a payment. 3 months later or 6 months later, we left it in a police station, parking lot. But I mean, I had some cars, like I had an Infinity G35, which they don't even make those, but it was brand new then. That was like 60, 70 grand. These were not like, first of all, you're either on the run or you're committing fraud. Like, you don't want to go out and buy a $200,000 vehicle. Like, I'm not.
True.
I don't want to go broke trying to prove that I have a bunch of money, and people start looking at you like I'm supposed to look like a normal business owner.
True.
Who has a decent vehicle, but nothing, nothing outrageous. And then, you don't want to get
You're doing
pulled
the
over.
vacations, right?
I'm sorry?
I think you mentioned like some vacations last time. You guys were.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, and I don't even feel like that was me, because I feel like it was like the girls that I were with, like they wanted to go to Europe, or they wanted to go to Mexico or Venice or Greece, or, I've been to all those places, and a lot of those places I went with on passports that were in other people's names.
So I was just about to ask that. I mean, did you go as Matt Cox or did you go as
No, these
Brian
were like
Green?
when I was on the run. Like, we go to, where did we go? Went to Jamaica for like a week, and I was on, I think it was Eric. No, I'm sorry. I think it was Michael Eckert.
Yeah, Michael Eckert, yeah.
And went to Venice for a week. We went on a 10-day cruise where you go to the Greek Isles, and those weren't. I went there as a Carter. I mean, I've traveled as a bunch of different, using a bunch of different passports.
Do you get nervous when you're walking up there and you give them?
Because
I mean, I guess you've been.
No, because the passport was issued by the U.S. State Department. It's just not my name. Like, it's my picture. It's just not my name. And it's not only is it like, you walk in and you go and you give them the passport, and they're like, it's just don't know the feeling when they say like, "Hi, Mr. Eckert, are you traveling for a business or or is it a vacation?" And you're like, you want to be like, bro, I'm not even Michael Eckert. Like, but so you're like, it's just going on vacation. They're like, oh, okay, and everybody's calling you like this is funny. I don't know if you've ever stayed in like the Ritz Carlton.
Once, yeah.
Okay, but so if you stay there, the staff knows you. Like, they call you by your name. So you don't know them. You walk up, you're like, hey, hi, my name is, Michael Eckert, for instance. And they're like, oh, hi, Mr. Eckert. And then you go to your room, and then you're walking down the hallway to go somewhere, and they say, hi, Mr. Eckert. Somebody else says, hello, Mr. Eckert. "Hi, Mr. Eckert, how are you?" And you're going, like, this is nuts. Like, you stop and you say, "Excuse me." And they go, "What can I do for you, Mr. Eckert?" And you're like, Jesus, this is bizarre. And what's even more bizarre is, like, it's not my name. So it's like, now you guys are all calling me like Mr. Black. It's like,
Oh my God.
like, that's not my name, but it's freaky that you guys know that. I just stopped and asked, and they said that they actually have cards
Oh,
that
really?
they memorize. That's one of those
Because
things
that's
that-
ridiculous.
yeah, but it's so cool.
Did you ever like think that? Did you ever did you ever consider just staying in one of these countries, like whenever you're like
Yeah.
on the run and stuff? Like, what made you not just like stay in Greece or something?
You know, so I think culturally, I felt like everybody used to say, you know, bro, like, why didn't you get like, you know, $500,000 or $1 million and go to Mexico?
Yeah.
Like, my comfort level is, you know, is being in like a European style country. And my fear was, you know, you're going to go to Mexico. They see a gringo in Mexico with a bunch of money. The cops will come and take it from you. You know, like, it's like, what am I gonna do? Like, it's a rough place. I don't know my way around. I don't know anything about it. I have no real way to prove what my what my income is. And for me to get there, I'm gonna have to do some shady stuff. I'm gonna have to start putting money into the bank, cash. Like, I don't know. And I didn't feel like I needed to leave the US because at the time there were articles, but they were local newspapers. So I didn't really think about permanently leaving until I found out that Dateline was coming out with a special on me. That's when I started thinking, okay, wait a second. Like, the problem is, one, it'll come out. Even if you can pack up your stuff and take off and be in transit and show up somewhere else after it's aired and kind of stay low and dodge that first week, there will be reruns.
Yeah.
2 months from now, you may have reestablished your life. You're walking the gym one day and a guy goes, huh. You know, he runs down the street and says, "Man, I'm telling you, I just seen this fucking guy. He's in the gym." You know, you walk, you know, 2 officers will walk up to you and they arrest you and that's it. Like, you're done. So, you know, my fear was like, I need to leave. And so I was going toward the end, we were going to go to Australia and I'd done things to alter my appearance, but you can only do so much,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that'd be a really. I mean, I would personally. I guess Mexico would be kind of sketchy for sure. I would probably try to pick something like a London, maybe. Australia would be a good choice too.
Right. I think so. You know, the other thing is, like, I also, you know, like, my full-time job is basically okay. So if I go to London, like, I don't know how to buy and sell houses in London, you know, in the UK. I don't know, how do I open up a business there? I'm showing up with, you know, even, and not that there's not ways to launder money and get it into a bank and then have it transferred and stuff. But when does it show up? Like, at what point have you reestablished your life in another country? And one day they start asking questions like, you know, where'd this money come from? Like, you got money wired over. We got people in the United States asking questions. You sold 4 houses, put the money into a corporate account, wired the money over here. You got here. Like, the IRS is looking into it. The person that opened that corporation, or that corporation was opened in the name of a guy that, you know, that they can't find, or that I don't know, never paid taxes on the money, or, you know, whatever those things may be. Like, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
And I didn't need to leave. It wasn't until very, very at the very end where it was like, and it was suddenly like, holy shit, this is bad. Refinance everything we can, get as much money out in cash. We'll go to Australia with you only needed $100,000 and a business plan. You know, now granted, we're going to go with a couple million, but most of that's going to be cash. Cash, money orders, cashier's checks. Like, we could open up an account, get a couple cashier's checks, close the account. You could open up an account in a corporation, wire the money. Like, there was ways to get it there. Sure. But you had to show up with a cashier's check or a wire for $100,000 and your business plan. And I could go to Australia at that time, and they would let you in. They'd make you a permanent resident alien. And that was the quickest place to go to. So.
Do you think in today's age with the cryptocurrency and the ease of money transfer, do you think it'd be easier to do, like, to just go to a new country? Or do you think you still have to cross those kinds of, I mean, you still have to set up a bank account and everything like that, obviously, but do you think it's a little bit easier to utilize crypto in different areas?
Yeah, I think
that maybe is one of the fears.
I think there are so many different ways to move money now that there weren't 20 years ago. Like getting money out of the bank. How do you get money out? Like back then, it was like, okay, I buy gold or I get cash.
Yeah.
Like you could wire transfer, money between bank accounts, but there was no crypto.
Yeah.
You could go, there was a, Western Union.
Oh, yeah.
Like there was PayPal or anything. Like, you don't have even PayPal. Like there wasn't even that. Those things didn't, there was no crypto. There were no crypto wallets. There was no Bitcoin. There was no, there's so many ways to move money now that it would be much easier now to do it. And there's so much, the anonymity is more prevalent now in moving money than it was back then.
Yeah. Did you follow that FTX scam?
Yeah.
Okay, like that is one of those things that is just wild. What's your take on that? Like, how deep did you go on that?
I mean, I don't know what's happened since, what was his name? Bankman-Fried. What's his name? What's his first name?
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Sam. Thank you. Sam Bankman-Fried. SB. Since he's been arrested, I haven't followed it, but I mean, I followed the sequence of events. But what was so funny too, when things were going bad, like every time he would come on and try and explain himself, I was just like, what is this guy doing? Like it's just, he had that, it was that classic mistake of thinking you're the smartest guy in the room and not being the smartest guy in the room. And it was like, I get that you surrounded yourself by people that are like, just think you're wonderful and you can outthink them, but that's not going to work in a criminal case. And spinning isn't going to work. And then shifting blame to the girlfriend.
Yeah, that one.
Her company, there's transactions, there's spreadsheets, there's text messages, you knew what you were doing. Like this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a couple of an error. You're coming up, you're creating crypto tokens that don't exist, that have no value, and you're using them as value. You're borrowing as much money as you can. You're giving these outrageous interest rates. Like this whole thing is bad. And then of course the whole time I was like, listen, so these people are going to start rolling over on him. And sure enough, like within 3 or 4 days, the ex-girlfriend is seen, and another one of the employees is like, they catch her in a Starbucks down the street from the FBI building. Did you see that part?
I did not see that.
Yeah. And then of course I was like, she's cooperating. She's 2 blocks from the FBI building getting a frappuccino, and one of the customer or one of the employees snaps some photos, and it goes out. And then you find out like 4 or 5 days later, she is debriefing with the FBI. And it's like, he's done.
Yeah, they're going to make an example out of him.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I have tons of guys that on the comment section that would say, he donated too much money. It's going to insulate him. Well, listen, I know guys that have donated tons of money to politicians, and the first thing those politicians do is start running the other way. Like they're not writing a letter for you. They're not doing anything for you.
You probably thought that they would.
He may have thought that.
Yeah.
I love that he thought, I'm going to go in and help write the regulation. This needs to be regulated. And he was going to, but in his mind, he was probably going to do it in such a way that he could skate by or something. Like if I donated him money to get some regulation, it'll help me. I'll figure a way out so it helps me, so I can keep this Ponzi scheme going.
It's like Matt Cox going in to go give regulation for mortgage fraud.
Like we need to fix this.
We need to fix this. Yeah, no, that was a crazy one. Like when I saw that happen, because he had like the FTX arena. It was like you would imagine that it was a very, valid organization.
They said they were doing.
Billions
They
of
said they were
dollars.
doing their accounting on QuickBooks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole thing was like, the whole thing is hilarious as you read about it.
That
Just
whole
how disorganized it was and expense reporting, all of that was just insane.
Well, you know, it's like Bernie Madoff made it as long as he did because he gave decent returns, but not outrageous returns.
Yeah.
You know, so, and as a result of that, you know, he made it a long, long time. So, you know, it's these guys that come in and say, oh, you'll make 40% on your money or 120%. Like, bro, use your head. You don't have to, if everybody else is, if the average return is 6 or 7%, you don't have to give 40. It sounds like it's fraud. Like give out, you know, 9.5, you know, 9.25. Take a loss every once in a while. People won't pull out. Like, don't spend insane money. But that's just not the way it works.
Which is mind blowing to me because you would think that's a very logical thing to do, to
It's
be in
just
it for
once
the long haul.
Once people taste the money, I'm sure that it
probably
just
just
is
keep
like
going.
a snowball effect of it.
I always wonder, like, do they think it's gonna go on forever, or do they think no, I'm like the guys that you find out that they had other businesses going, like they were trying to turn it into something. So, for instance, like Sam Bateman-Fried, I love that we say his full name like it's his serial killer. Like John
Like he's
Wayne
a serial
Gacy.
killer.
You know? So he, you know that it wasn't really a scam from the very beginning because, you know, he did it in his name. He was very open. Like it slowly, I'm sure, got out of control. There were probably several bad trades. It got out of control. He started lying. He started coming up with more ways to get more money. Probably thought he could get out of it if he got a little bit more money. Do this, we can get some more money. And at that point, you're juggling so many balls in the air that it's just you're doomed. And people compared him to what was her name? The Theranos chick.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, what the fuck's her name? I
Yeah.
just saw an article about her.
You're
today.
obsessed with her. How do you not know her fucking name?
I watched the show about her. It was pretty good actually.
Yeah, did you see that show about her?
I watched a documentary about her. Elizabeth Holmes.
Elizabeth
The
Holmes.
one.
I was about to look it up, but I did. Elizabeth Holmes. So the thing about Elizabeth Holmes, which always killed me, is that she, hers was just a lie from the very beginning.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure in her mind, she continually thought, we'll pull it off. If we throw enough money at the problem, we can pull it off. But, you know, but then she's setting up fake labs, fake results, and then she starts taking real blood results. Like, what are you doing, lady?
Yeah,
Like,
she
this
went
isn't
all
work
in.
out.
She doubled down every time too.
Right. That's the whole
Yeah.
thing. Like, that's what kills me.
Yeah, she never pulled back once. She just went harder.
Ever.
Oh, and then she's trying to get people. She's threatening to sue people. She's
Yeah.
security. She's, you know, it's like she's threatening people. So what are you doing?
She was like fully delusional. She wanted all
really
the
was.
attention on herself too, which was the craziest part.
Yeah,
She
there's
was
a-
telling the world to look at her while she was like fooling everyone.
And then
it's
what's
like
up
someone's
with-
gonna see.
What's up with that? The Steve Jobs, you know, turtlenecks and the starts talking. She starts talking like this. Like, what are you doing?
Voice.
Yeah, she
that was
like,
weird.
I mean, she was just like crazy as fuck. She was like, got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, she's got there's some mental issues going on there.
For
See,
sure.
she got pregnant before. I think it
No.
was before her trial or something, just
Yeah.
so she could try to like not go in.
Oh,
twice.
really?
Twice?
So she got pregnant once, and then COVID hit, and they delayed the trial. So she's like, "Damn, I got to have this kid." So she has
no
the
way.
kid, and then she gets pregnant again, thinking, "Okay,
Knock me
now
up again.
I've been sent, I've been found guilty, but I'm gonna be sentenced. So boom, I'll get pregnant again. Hold it off some longer. It's like, God, you're willing to sacrifice anybody to stay out as long as you possibly can. I still am shocked
Literally.
at the amount of time she got. She barely got it. To me, she barely got any time. I got 26 years.
That's actually true. Because how much time did she get?
She still hasn't gone in, has she?
I thought she did.
Or she was in waiting a trial? I think because they're still waiting to like actually.
I know that it wasn't like that big of like a sentencing, which is
Elizabeth
crazy
Holmes.
because
I'm really
How much
curious.
time did she get? She got
3 hours ago, Elizabeth Holmes delays start of prison sentence with last minute appeal. 1 hour ago. This stuff is coming out
Holy
right
shit.
now. Oh my God, right now it's
This'll be
coming
great.
out.
This is
Talk
a
about being on
TikTok.
top of it.
Yeah, holy shit. Elizabeth Holmes gets a delay in her prison date.
Oh, she got her criminal penalty it's 11 years.
It really ain't.
That's
130
nothing.
It really ain't shit when you come.
Listen, I do 11 years for that much. If but I got to walk away with the money.
That's yeah, exactly.
You know, so
That's crazy. So that's crazy too. Like even when her employees killed themselves,
yeah.
and she acted like, didn't seem to faze her. She kept going.
I was thinking about Sam Bateman-Fried, like his prison, like what a rude awakening this guy is. Like he needs,
He's gonna be in a bad spot.
yeah.
I feel like that's not gonna be good to him there.
How was it when you first went in? Were you worried at all when you first went in?
Was I worried?
Obviously, I knew you were worried, but how worried were you?
I was very worried. I was very worried. Yeah. I was afraid
First-
they were going to make me shave
ahead.
my head so the mop wig would fit better. I mean,
yeah.
it was, I was very concerned. And the thing is, I had so much time. It's not like I went to a low or a camp. Like I went to a medium. Guys are stabbing each other the first day I get there.
Yeah.
So, but you keep your head down, you stay to yourself, you're polite, you don't, you get a job, you get into a routine, you don't borrow from anybody, you don't gamble, you don't talk about anybody, you don't run up debts. Keep your head down and, don't be overly friendly.
Overall, I didn't think I caught this from last time. How much time did you end up serving in total?
Just shy of 13 years. I always just say 13 years.
Okay.
What's it like being out now? Like, do you ever think to yourself, like, kind of like, get those little flashbacks and just like feel super grateful for just being out?
I mean, I
of
did
that?
the first year or so, I kept thinking I remember, and I talked to other guys, like, you get around 4:00, you have to be in your cell for count. So like around 4:00, I always felt anxious for about a year or so. And then the other thing was that for at least 6 months to a year, I constantly felt like I was in a very, I wasn't in a permanent place because I kept thinking they were going to come get me. Not like I was running, but like it was a mistake. Like I'm
Yeah.
not supposed to be here.
They're
Like
gonna
I'm
call
supposed to
you
be
back.
in prison. I feel comfortable in prison. I don't feel comfortable out here. And they're going to come get me any day now. There's going to be a knock at the door, and there's going to be a couple of marshals that are going to be there, and they're going to be like, listen, man, I hate to tell you this, Mr. Cox, turn around. They're going to handcuff me. I'm going to say, what's going on? They're going to say, look, there was an issue with the court. There's a problem. I'm going to get back in there and say, I'm sorry. You got 8 more years to do or something. I'm going to be like, oh, man, what happened?
How long do you think it took for it to feel like the norm to be in prison? Like once you got there, obviously for the first like probably month or so, you were like, what the hell's
I would say
going on?
it takes 2 or 3 years.
Oh, really? 2-3 years?
So here's what's funny. So I remember after I've been locked up a year in the marshal's holdover, right, waiting to be sentenced, and then I got to prison. And after about 2 years, I remember I was walking around the compound with a guy that was actually my cousin, who's my brother-in-law's cousin, but in prison he might as well be your cousin. So I'm walking around with him, and I had the weirdest dream the night before, where I was outside, like I was outside, like in a mall or something, but there were people from the prison that were in the mall, mixed in with regular people. Like I would see so-and-so and I'd be like, hey, what's up? And I'd see him and he'd see me and nod, like neither one of us were supposed to be there. And it was like, so I remember telling my cousin, bro, I said, this is the weirdest dream. And I told him that, and he goes, that's funny. He said, now he'd been locked up probably 10 or 12 years. And he goes, that's funny. He said, you still dream about the outside? And I was like, yeah.
No way.
damn.
And he
'Cause it's
said-
that distance. Holy
He
shit.
said it takes about 4 or 5 years before you won't dream about being outside at all anymore. And
Was that true?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Within probably a year, all of my dreams were within the prison.
What?
And
No way.
and sometimes there would be people from the outside that were in prison, mixed in, and then it got to
Yeah.
the point where there was never anybody other than people in the prison when I dreamed. I was always in prison. There were always people in prison with me that I had known in prison. There were no family members, nobody that I knew from the outside in prison. Maybe you'd see somebody that you knew in prison 2 years earlier that had been released, and you'd see the guy in your dreams and he would be there, but it was all prison related. So your world becomes super small.
That would kind of fuck me up a little bit.
Yeah, that's insane.
Not gonna lie.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Was there ever a time where you got to the point of, I mean, obviously you wanted to get out, but was there a time period where you were just like, I don't really mind it in here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised. Yeah, I've definitely said that before.
Really?
Where I towards the last, I always joke about this. Like people are like, oh man, I can't believe you did, all that time. And I always say, well, the first decade's the hardest. And then they always laugh like, I always love it when they give you the nervous laugh, like when they first meet you and and they're like, like they don't know if it's funny or not. Like, but I'd say the last 4 years, 4 to 5 years, when I was writing stories, and I had a good group of friends in there, like I was more concerned because I knew I'd be getting out soon.
Oh, and you're like, what the hell am I going to do?
What am I going to do? How am I going to survive? Like, I know everybody here. I like writing. I don't have any bills. All I have to do is research people's stories, write their stories, and I like that. I enjoyed it. It was like a puzzle. It was like like to me, if you sat down and played a video game for 10 hours, like to me that'd be hell. But I could do research and read about these guys and write outlines and I could do that 10 hours a day easy. And that to me is like playing a video. Like I loved it. I had a great time. It definitely helped me pass the time. And it was a puzzle. Like you really get to do research and put together something. And then when you're done, you have something that you feel like you've really accomplished something. And for somebody, most people have jobs where they don't really accomplish anything, right? Like they sort mail, it never stops coming. They do something in a warehouse, like the boxes the trucks never stop coming. They're always loading the shelves. They're always coming. Like it's just a cycle. But it's like when you ever mow your yard.
Yeah.
Right.
Not them. I have.
Of course I have.
Ray has too.
You look at the yard when you start and you go, man, I got to mow this fucking yard. And then you mow it, and 45 minutes later, you mowed it, you edged it, you put everything up, you walk back out, and you look at the yard, and you're like, you have this feeling of accomplishment, like, nice, like that. I got all the lines right. I got the edging came out. Like I always fucked that edging up before, but that's like I did a good job. Like you're like, yeah, that's good. It's a great feeling of accomplishment. And I only say that because I know Danny with Concrete. Mm-hmm. I mentioned that to him. Like it's a great feeling of accomplishment when you write a story and you've been working on it for months, and then one day it's done and it's this polished gem, and you can look at it and you're like, wow, like I did that. Like it's done. I could put everything away and I could start over again. And I mentioned the lawn thing to him because he goes, what's that feel like? And I explained it to him, like the lawn, and he went, bro, he said, I love mowing the yard. He said, I even get TikToks of people mowing the yard.
Oh, like those fuckers who go to the house and do it for free?
Yes. He said, I love those. I watch them all the time. I send them to people. I said, even when they mow them and they're perfect, he said, I send them to, and he started sending me TikTok videos of people mowing yards. So
That's amazing.
That's how it feels.
Speaking of TikTok, do you have any takes on this, on what they're trying to do with this? Trying to get rid of it?
Yeah, and the problem is that, unfortunately I like TikTok. But
I like it too.
I have a real issue with China in general. Like I don't think so it's like I hear them, and honestly, like let's face it, if a TikTok went on, everyone's like, oh, they won't go to another platform. You'll go to another platform. You'll go to YouTube. You'll move to Instagram. another platform will evolve, an American platform. Like, I don't see why TikTok just doesn't do like an American thing, and the CCP doesn't say, look, we'll just drop the whole thing and you guys start a whole new company and something. But I think, but the problem is like, I don't think people realize like how dangerous the CCP is. Like China, they genuinely want to be the dominant force, and they want to, they want to change the whole dynamic of the world. And what's and the idea that some people will be like, well, what's the big deal? The big deal is if they took over, I promise you, they will not be as kind to us as we have been to them.
Oh no,
True.
And the problem with them is that that a lot of their stuff, like people don't think of it. They think of it in like the first 10 years. Like the CCP has plans for like 50 years. That's the difference between them. It's like they think long term. Like what's the good for the betterment of the CCP of China? So like it's a way different mindset than how Americans think.
Yeah, we just think election to election.
Right.
Literally.
I was gonna say, and we're so soft and so spoiled that we don't realize how good we have it. And people are like, okay, well, yeah, but what's the problem with this? Well, do you like your life the way it is? Because it will be altered. And you could say, okay, well, a lot of the things that we have, maybe some of those things are because we are the dominant country. And, maybe you've got tons of, liberals that want to, well, can't we spread some of that wealth out? No, we can't. Because it's the same people that it's like California, like it's like 600,000 people left California.
That's insane.
Last year. And it's been happening for the last decade. The more liberal they become, the more people leave. And it's not the homeless that are leaving.
No, they're staying.
It's the people that are paying all the bills. Mm-hmm. And so it just kills me when it's like, I'm striving so hard to make money so that people want to take it away from you. And then when you leave, they get upset that you're leaving and not paying for their stuff anymore.
Yeah, shit, they're all coming down by you.
Right, yeah.
Florida and Texas.
Florida. And I love Florida. I love Florida. I mean, everybody, if it weren't for the heat, but I never go outside.
Not an outdoorsman?
My wife works outside. I can't imagine.
Yeah, that's nuts.
He gets his 45 minutes in a week on the lawn, back inside.
No. That's just an example. I don't mow my yard. Are you crazy?
He's like, that was an analogy.
Yeah, well, during summer it's a little bit much. Like during winter, when the busy season, it's actually like nice, 70s. But like right now, like coming up, it's gonna be fucking terrible.
Oh well, listen. I mean, there's no winter, and winter's the best part of Florida.
Yeah.
Because we have winter for a month.
Yeah.
And even that, it's not like your winter.
This is terrible.
You always know the Yankees when they come down here because it's winter and we're like all covered up like it's snowing out or something, and they're walking around in shorts. Like, what are you doing? Like, you guys are idiots. This isn't cold. I'm ready to go swimming. Swimming? It's freezing. What are you talking about? It's 50 degrees. They're like, soft ass cracker. So yeah, but it's Florida's great, except there are alligators. Lots of alligators.
Is it getting too busy though? I heard that some areas are getting too packed. The traffic's getting brutal in some areas.
I mean, if you go to like Miami or something, but like Tampa's not bad. I think Orlando's probably pretty bad. Every time I go to Orlando, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But people are nice. Everybody's nice. The real estate's not outrageous. Rents aren't outrageous. If you saw the house that I rent for like $2,600 a month, or as I pay like $2,650, it's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house with a 2-car garage. It's 3 years old.
Damn.
It looks like. Do you ever see the Truman Show?
Yeah.
That's what I feel like. It's the Truman. When I always joke, I'm like, we live in the Truman Show. it's beautiful. Like as you drive to my house, there's ponds that have fountains in them that are lit up at night, and it's real. It's Wesley Chapel. It's called Wesley Chapel. It's about 20 minutes north of downtown Tampa, 30 minutes
that's
north.
nice too. You're right there.
Damn.
Right. But see, like, where are you guys? It's Chicago, right?
We're the
Yeah.
burbs. We're about an hour from the city.
I was gonna say,
west
like,
suburbs.
Chicago's massive compared to Tampa.
Yeah.
I mean, Chicago is probably 20 Tampa. So when I say downtown, Tampa's got like 20 buildings, 30 buildings in downtown, very clustered that are taller than 20 stories, let's say. So it's not like Chicago's like super spread out, and there's all kinds of stuff. Like, so 20 to 30 minutes from downtown Tampa is really out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, to be honest with you, it's only about 15 to 20 minutes from the interstate. So it's like 10 minutes to 75, get on 75, and in 20 minutes, I can be getting out of my car in downtown Tampa. And you can park in downtown Tampa. Like, you park, like, there's parking. Parking in
That's
Chicago.
nuts.
You're driving around for 45 minutes looking for a parking
terrible.
space.
It's brutal. And, even going back to like, the crime and shit, right? Like, people leaving California. We're seeing it in Chicago a lot right now. The crime is just like increasingly getting worse. And now the new mayor is trying to put all these new taxes on people.
Oh, it's a fucking shit show.
It's
This guy's
ridiculous.
such a loser. The new Chicago mayor is a fucking
Listen,
loser.
the old
ridiculous.
one didn't look all that great.
Oh, this guy's
right?
guy's worse. This guy is worse than what we had before. I mean, he's everything bad
blaming
about her.
Walmart for leaving.
Oh, dude, that's the stupidest shit I've ever seen. They think they're like, why the hell Walmart leaving? Like, dude, they're a business. They're a business at the end of the day.
People
They're
kept
not going to
stealing
stay
their
there.
shit.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's looting. There's theft. There's
Yeah.
like, why would you stay?
Dude, during COVID, it was actually like super, super scary. Like, super scary. Like,
Yeah.
like my grandma works downtown in one of the buildings. She's like, yeah, I was driving. She's European. She's like, I was driving on Lower Wacker. There's people with signs. I'm driving. I'm like, dude, you're in a fucking protest. Get out of there. What are you doing, dude? She's like, oh, they all look very nice, dressed up. Yeah, but it's getting crazy over here. It still is fucked up.
It's going like, and there's like no signs of improvement either. I mean, they're not making any changes that are going to help. So.
That's like, honestly,
see.
down here, there's I don't know. You guys probably know it. Like, so there's like I think it's Polk County down here. Like, there's lots of different counties. Polk County, there's Okeechobee County, there's Hillsborough County. Like, I don't know whether there's like 30 counties, but they're pretty massive. And the sheriffs that run them most of them, they're good old boys. Mm-hmm. And they'll come out and they'll do videos. There's one guy named Sheriff Grady.
I love those
Sheriff Grady.
videos. They are so funny. I fucking love them. Like, was that the guy that was putting the signs in front of drug dealers' houses?
Yeah. Yeah, this dope house closed. And then he would have the people stand in front of the sign, take a picture, and they put it in the newspaper.
Yeah.
He's not playing. And they, like, somebody gets shot. Like, somebody got a guy with a history of burglaries, right? Gets shot, and he's shot like dead. They find him dead in the street. And they realized this guy broke into someone's house and the homeowner shot him. And he stumbled out of the house and died in the street. The problem was Grady was like, we don't know which homeowner shot him. And they said, so I'm doing this press conference to let them know you're not in trouble. We encourage you to shoot people that come into your house. We'd like you to come forward so we can give you some lessons so that you kill him immediately when they come in the house. And he doesn't have to get away because we don't like them to die in the street. We want him to die right there. So, I mean, he's like, and this happens, like, these are the kinds of things that happen all the time, which to me is funny. It's Florida. It's an open carry state. Guys are walking around with guns. It's a stand your ground state. Like, you mouth off to somebody, you get into a shoving match, somebody will pull out a gun and shoot you, but it's a polite state.
Yeah. So, because you don't want to fuck with someone if you know that they can shoot you.
I'm always very polite.
Yeah.
Especially being a felon, because I don't have a gun. But yeah, it's like, it's a harsh place. But here's the thing, if your tire goes flat on the interstate you've got about a 90% chance that someone will stop and help you.
Wow.
If you turn on your blinker, there's about a 90% chance that people will go, come on, move, get over. And they'll, you know, and it's not like that everywhere. You go to Miami, it's horrible. People see you turn on your blinker, they speed up. People see
That's
you have a
Chicago.
flat tire, they beep as they drive by. Like they're like assholes. But Tampa, you know, the surrounding areas, Orlando, you know, gosh, Tallahassee, what else? You know, most of the places that are predominantly Floridians, when you have people from up north, they come down and they don't, you know, I just think they're not used to doing those kinds of things. And it's, you know, and I don't know if it's because they're out of fear, because they're like, nah, you don't pull over. You could get shot. You could, you know, it's a more dangerous, it's just very hospitable here, I think. And maybe that's because you might get shot.
It's true. Yeah.
You know?
That's fair.
So I don't know. I don't know what the reason is.
Do you think, I'm curious to hear your opinion on this too. So DeSantis is probably going to run for president. Do you like that idea or no? Because he's doing such a good job with Florida. You know?
I think, you know what I think about that? Like, it's, you know, oh man, I should see me say this, but so my fear is that if he runs with Trump, against Trump in the primary, I think Trump is so vicious, he'll do serious damage to DeSantis in a you know what I'm saying? Like, you may, let's say DeSantis gets the nomination, which he would over Trump, I think, but I also think that he'd be so damaged by the end of it that it may be hard to maybe win an election. Not that I think that really the Democrats have anybody that could run.
Biden just fucking announced his reelection.
I mean, honestly,
not gonna be alive.
You can't even like say a sentence. It's fucking crazy.
Like, it's actually like Trump's up there too. Trump's what, like 76?
Yeah, but
77?
Trump has his mental faculties.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's like, but him, it's just like, it's a night and day.
I don't know how he's going to run again. How is he going to campaign? It's a joke.
They're going to juice him up with speed like they did last time. Same shit. I mean,
yeah, and it's rough. Like, it's, listen, the only thing about Biden is it's like Trump's policies. Like, I liked Trump's policies, but I thought Trump was such a maniac.
Yeah.
You know, you know, and that's the funny thing is, like, he was such a maniac. every time I would see him talk, I'd be like, just read what they've written. Don't go off script. You'll be fine. You could go down in history like Ronald Reagan. You could have been a great president, but he keeps going off script, saying these crazy, insane things, and
he shot himself in the foot all the time.
Right. You know, but like his policies, I have no problem with that. And the only thing about Biden is, like, the only thing about Biden's policies that I'm okay with is his stance on China.
True.
You know, that's it. Like, most of them, I'm like, absolute. Well, China and Ukraine to a degree, but yeah, it's the same thing. It's like the Ukrainian war. It's like it's a ton of money that we're blowing, and I feel like, you know, man, like, what a waste. And in the end, you're still going to have this super kind of corrupt country. But I also think that if you allow it's really more about Putin than it is Ukraine.
yeah.
It's like, this guy is not going to stop. You know, you can't appease a bully. You know, you can't. It's like Hitler. Like, you can't. You know, oh, we're just going to take. You know, we're going to take Austria, and then we're going to take Poland, and then we're going to take it. And they kept saying, oh, that's the last one, though. That's the last one, right? Yeah, no, that's the last. Bro, like, you think he's going to stop? He's not going to stop.
That's true.
And if he gets Ukraine, China's going to go for Taiwan.
Right.
Just like, that's a problem, right? Like, we're putting all this money over there, but everyone's getting pissed. Like, fuck you, $50 billion. Like, you guys are sending it over. But it's like, the latter is like, if we let them,
right,
and these guys get stomped and these guys move forward, it's going to.
Yeah,
now we have like a new
now
world
we
order.
have a problem.
10 years from now, those same people that are complaining are going, we should have stopped them. Why didn't you?
Exactly.
Are you serious?
Honestly, though.
It's, bro, what else are we talking about? You didn't talk to me about politics. I'm not a politician. What's going on?
I figured you had good takes on it.
Yeah.
I see your YouTube stuff sometimes.
So,
you don't really do political, but you do like the Logan Paul thing. I saw some of that. That I want to actually dive into a little bit. What did you think about that, the crypto zoom shit?
What a scumbag. I mean, you know, honestly, like, how much money do you need? You know, I mean, it's like you're running a pump and dump. And my problem is like you got caught. Like if you get caught, your best course of action is to own up to it immediately. Like don't start spinning it and blaming other people, and like own up to it. Like man up and say, "Whoa, boom, you're right. I was trying to pull some fucking a fast one. It was a little pump and dump thing. I fucked up. I apologize. I'm going to give everybody their money back. I'm going to make everybody whole." No, even when he came clean eventually because he had no choice, he still tried to spin it. And he's like, and it is going to come out. And it's like, nobody wants your shit to come out anymore, bro. Give them their money back.
Is he going to get like anything like happen to him for that, or no? Is he kind of like skating away from that?
I mean, I haven't seen that he's indicted. What I saw was that he's named in like a lawsuit, right? Like you knew he was going to get sued anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if any of it was like fully criminal. I think that everyone just thought he was an asshole.
Yeah, I personally think it's criminal. I'm in shock that I'm in shock that he wasn't charged. Like to me, if all they have to do is swing by and pick up, like CoffeeZilla already did put your entire case together. You know, so why wouldn't you? Oh wait, didn't Logan Paul? No, that still wasn't criminal, was it? It was still like an SEC. Didn't the SEC come in and fine a bunch of the crypto guys? Like and I know Logan Paul was listed on that. There was a bunch.
They were doing some loop around for taxes, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah,
it was something,
country.
and he paid. He had to pay like, it wasn't even much. It was like $100,000 or something. But yeah, like it never became criminal, which I don't understand. Like to me, if that was anybody but him, I think it would have been criminal. I don't know. They just don't it's not that I don't think what he did was criminal. It's that I just don't think that they understand and have the ability to investigate it. The people that you have looking into economic crimes, and especially new economic crimes, you know, are so limited in their ability to investigate those crimes and how to apply the law to them.
Is that because of a knowledge thing or a tools at their disposal?
I think it's, look, it's not like it's complicated. Like it's not like it's
probably a
not
little bit of both.
complicated. You know, they have a lot of rules that like we can't do this, or we can do this, or we have to prove this. And how do we prove this now? He won't talk. Like we can't set up a sting at this point. You know, so it's like he's gonna lie. But the nice thing is every time he goes on YouTube and says something, they've got more and more damaging things they could bring up. But also, you also know he's got a lot of money, and he'll probably fight it. So now he's gonna get a high-priced lawyer. He's gonna fight it. And now, do we want a 3-week trial that we might lose? This is a government, you know? Like, who knows? This guy gets on the stand, he spins it in such a way, he's likable, and he ends up being found not guilty. Like, that's horrible for us.
Yeah, they got protesters outside of the courthouses and shit. They got a whole scene.
And look, prosecutors, U.S. assistant U.S. prosecutors, they want to be the U.S. They want to be the U.S. prosecutor. They want to be attorney general. Like, they're not in the habit of prosecuting cases that they can't win. So sometimes if it's questionable, people slip through the cracks.
That's so odd how that happens. Like how they can pick and choose who they indict on things or prosecute for things.
What it's funny is like I do like keynote speeches, right? Like so sometimes I go and I give a speech to whatever, a mortgage association or a lender, a large lender. And then sometimes like I'll get called from like the local sheriff's department here. They have an economic crimes, like unit and summits and stuff. And they'll invite crime people from other counties. So you get people from Pasco coming over and Hillsborough and all these different counties from around Florida will be there, and there'll be like 40 people there. So you got like 40 people from the financial crimes investigators, and then I'll come in and I'll tell them my story. And the first time I did it, I remember thinking, well, they know all this. You know what I'm saying? Like everything I'm telling them, they're going to sit there and go, yeah, that's how it works. That happens. But that's not what happened. What happened was they started going, well, how did you do this? And didn't they say anything about that? Well, why didn't this? And so you just walked like that. They didn't say, well, what about this? And I was sitting there thinking, like, you don't know that? Like you've been doing this for 10 or 15 years. Like, how do you not know that you can walk into the DMV and get an ID? This is all you need, and then no, the picture doesn't show up from the other state. And how did I get around that? Well, I just brought a copy of the record. And, well, how did you order the record? Didn't you need a notary stamp? Yeah, I just ordered it online. You just ordered it online, or no, I just ordered it from, Staples or Office Depot. I just ordered it, and then 4 days later, it came in. They called me. I went in. They gave it to me. They're like, just like that. They didn't ask you to see your ID or no. And they're like, I'm like, even if they did, if you order 5 of them, you're going to get 3 or 4 of them. And if the person asks for your ID and you say, oh my gosh, I don't have it. How late you going to be here? And they go, oh, I get off at 6. You go, oh, shoot. Okay, well, I'll be back before 6. And you leave. And then you wait till 6:30 and you come back and you talk to the next guy. Hey, I'm here to pick up my stuff. And he doesn't ask for ID. And he hands you your notary stamp. So you notarize your stuff, you go into the DMV, and you're good. I mean, so, and they're sitting there looking at them, looking like, wow, I can't believe this. And I'm thinking, like, I would think that you guys deal with this all the time and know these things, but they don't. They're used to low-level crimes of people stealing a checkbook and writing out checks, or making maybe a forgery for like a PPP check, or whatever, depositing in people's accounts. And there are these little crimes. That's what they're inundated with. And so a little bit more financial crime is they don't see it as often, so it's harder to prosecute. Even though it's a lot more money, they still don't have as much experience with it. So so you look at the crypto stuff, like how many cops understand crypto? You basically have to get a fucking expert in there.
Yeah.
To figure out the whole thing. And you have to have somebody explain why this is fraud. It's a pump and dump scheme. Like, even knowing what a pump and dump scheme is, a lot of people don't know.
True.
A lot of people don't know what a Ponzi scheme is. So, you have to kind of explain that to them. And so if you're a police officer, one, I have to explain it to you. Then I have to explain why it's illegal. Then I can explain how you can prove it. It's like, if you have to explain that to the law enforcement officer, how's he going to explain it to the housewife that's on the jury in 6 months?
Yeah, it's
right.
It's not going to happen.
Right. It's difficult. Like, they have a difficult job.
Especially with like the whole like reasonable doubt thing, or whatever the term is.
You have to prove it. Beyond
reasoning.
preponderance of the evidence. Like, it has to be like it has to be ironclad that this is what happened. Now, that's why I'm saying with Logan Paul, like, I feel like they had it. CoffeeZilla has him hands down, but who knows if he could spin it. And the thing is with Logan Paul, like, there's something called a pretrial intervention. You could actually go into a U.S. prosecutor and say, listen, this is what happened. Here's what happened. Here's what I may or may not have done illegally. Didn't realize it was illegal, but I want to make it good. And you come up with an arrangement with him, and they don't prosecute you.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
I never knew that.
That is what I think he should have done. And that's really almost like I felt like he probably was doing until he came out with his video where he was saying, I'm going to make everybody whole. I'm going to put out the cryptocurrency, the whatever it is, zoo eggs or the zoo, zoo crypto, or I'm going to, I'm going to go ahead. It's going to come out. It's like, then I started thinking, no, he's not, because I think a prosecutor would have said, just give these people their money back.
True.
Like, it's pretty clear you were running a pump and dump scheme on your crypto, or a rug pull, like, it's pretty clear.
Essentially, because I didn't really follow like exactly. So did he essentially sell out all of his tokens or whatever, and then nothing ever came out? Was it an NFT scam? Was that really what it was?
Yes, he was coming out with an NFT with these little, he had all this hype where it was like, we hand drew all the artwork, but it wasn't. They were still shots, just like screenshots of fucking like animals, and they had somebody like glue them together like on Photoshop. So, okay, so you have that, and each animal, when you put them together, they make more NFTs, so you get more money. It was a whole little thing. And so what they did was they released little bits at a time, and they had different levels. Like, well, we'll buy up these. That makes all of them more expensive. We'll release some more, buy those up. That makes them more expensive. He never sold any of his because the guys he was working with were going behind his back, kind of trying to screw him over also. by releasing them and buying them up. And they were buying them up in different wallets. So they thought that Logan Paul and his crew wouldn't figure it out, but they did figure it out. And the problem is the text messages between each other where they're complaining and yelling at each other unveil the scam. Like, it reveals in those text messages, you realize that they are running a pump and dump scheme. They have all agreed that we'll have so many sold at certain levels to drive the price up, and then we'll release only so much of ours to keep the price up. And then after a certain period of time, we can sell. Damn. And that's when you basically, it just drops down to nothing. You sell off everything at the higher price, and then people are, you're selling them for $100 a token or $100, for an NFT.
They had text messages of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know the text message
I did
part.
not know that part.
Yeah, did you guys watch CoffeeZilla's?
I saw you talk about it.
No, CoffeeZilla does an amazing job.
I've heard it. And then Logan Paul made some thing saying he was suing CoffeeZilla or some shit.
Yeah, which is so funny because like you can't, like, that would be 10 times as bad for him.
Oh God, yeah.
Just shining more light on it. I think he's just hoping it gets swept under the rug and no one talks about it anymore.
Right. He ended up calling CoffeeZilla, apologizing. And then he does another video where he says, look, I'm going to make everything right. I'm going to fix this. And it's like, okay, now you're still screwing up. Like, he still kind of spins it like it's not my fault. These guys, my team hired these guys.
Criminals.
It's not my fault. It's my team did this and my team did that. And I didn't realize that these guys were scumbags. Like, these guys that I was working with were scumbags. It's like, you mean the guys that you hired? Mm-hmm. He was like, well, how was I supposed to know that you hired him? Like, you're now, you're yelling about CoffeeZilla taking these guys' word and listening to these guys. You hired those guys. Those are your guys. Like, the buck stops with you. You're the one putting in the money. It's your NFT. He just, all around, I just feel like he dropped the ball. Like, why not just own up to it and say, I fucked up? People
Especially
love
because
him.
people love him, and he's made so much fucking money, and he's already got through one big PR crisis. So,
right.
Yeah, he already had Prime going, or he still does.
He's got Prime. That's
huge.
That's a big money maker. Why does he need NFTs?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, don't you have enough money?
It's ridiculous.
Like,
Did you ever think that? Did you think at a point you would ever stop?
I mean, I kept telling, but that's a bad. I hate that you pointed that out.
I don't mean it bad. I'm curious. Like,
because you're right. I kept thinking but the bar kept, that it kept moving. If I just get this,
right?
If I can just get this, if I can just. So yeah, I'm the worst person to. Let's move on.
But I mean, so there are like subtle differences in like the cases though, for sure. I mean, you didn't have millions of people watching your every move every single day for starters. So that's right. I think a pretty big variable at play there.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if I could make a living doing what I'm doing right now, just doing the videos, like, I'd be thrilled. Mm-hmm. Like, all Logan Paul has to do is make videos. I mean, to be honest, let's face it, he doesn't have to do anything anymore. You basically take his money, stick it in a bunch of mutual funds and just live off of, or some hedge funds and just live off the interest, if he could live off the interest. But but I also think you get older and you get more humble and more reasonable, and your expectations become lowered from what you want out of life. And you become, if you're lucky, you become more appreciative of what you have. So if I could just interview guys and write, stories, and then I love what I'm doing right now. I just feel like I'd like to not have to work 60, 70 hours a week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's that beginning grind though.
Yeah. And, I say that, but it's like, I have that personality where I feel like I could always be doing something.
Yeah.
Like, I have to make myself stop working, and like, my wife comes home and I have to kind of tell myself, like, okay, bro, that's enough. You woke up at 3 o'clock this morning. Like, I'll wake up at 3 a.m. I'll write for 2 to 3 hours, drink about 2 cups of coffee. Then at 6 o'clock, we go to the gym. And then we get back here by about 7:30. She takes a shower. by 8:30, she goes to work and I start working again. So that gym time in the morning is a couple of hours where I stop working and I start my day. And then when she comes home about 5:45, 6 o'clock, typically I stop working. You know, like every once in a while, there's something like this where I'll do it later on. She's here and, you know, I'm like, hey, I got a thing. And she's like, yeah, that's fine. But typically I stop working around 6:30. We have dinner. We watch, you know, whatever watch series or we do. And then 8:30 or 9:30, we're in bed. You know, we're old. We're old people. I'm old.
You consider yourself a workaholic?
But, you know, I feel like I'm not working though. Think about it. I write stories. I talk to people on, you know, people show up and I do in-person interviews, or sometimes it's a StreamYard. So like, is that work? Like, I know it is work. It doesn't feel like work. Sometimes I'll talk to somebody where I think, okay, this is going to be a quick one. And 2 hours later, we're still talking. You know, because I'm just fascinated with some of these guys' stories. I met this guy. Listen, I met the guy I told you, the guy stealing the artwork.
Yeah.
Like who does that? That's a super interesting story. Like that's extremely unique. I had a guy that was selling drugs on the dark web.
Oh, really? Like Silk Road kind of thing?
Yes, exactly. Not just that, and he's selling it for the cartel, and he met with cartel members.
Oh, that's sweet.
He interviewed with me. He hadn't even been sentenced yet. So we pulled the video for him to get sentenced. He's like, listen, man, you cannot. And let me tell you, it was towards the end of the video that he realized maybe I shouldn't have this come out before. So as it ended, he goes, listen, can I talk to you? He's like, now that I think about it. I was thinking to myself, I mean, yeah, that's probably not a good thing. I'd hate to be in front of the judge and they start playing clips, because he kind of laughed about some of the stuff he was doing. And it was more detailed and probably more information than the government realized. He's like they made some controlled buys. I admitted to the controlled buys. That's what I'm being charged with. But now I'm talking about how I've actually been doing it for years.
Can they go back and change the sentencing after that video comes out?
No, there's
double indemnity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or double indemnity. Sorry, double jeopardy. I said double indemnity. That's for like
I'm like this. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Double indemnity.
it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Drew's like, they got me with it once, not again.
It's weird, because you can. There's times when people just change thumbnails on videos, and all of a sudden a video will just take off out of nowhere. Like,
yeah,
it's weird like that.
I can see that.
It's like that happens a lot. It's right.
Yeah, it's like the attention grabber. So
people just go back, throw a different thumbnail on, and then the video will shoot off. Like yours got a lot of views for us because of TikTok. That was single-handedly why. Like your clips went stupid on TikTok. Like your one got like 3 million. How much? 3 million views.
There was a few in the millions, right? On TikTok. I mean, but TikTok doesn't pay like YouTube, right?
No, it was dog shit. They pay their creator funds dog shit.
Listen, my YouTube account isn't even monetized. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, they had all this hype around them being like this new amazing thing to drive, just be like the TikTok competitor. But the money's not there. Then it's weird. As soon as TikTok is has all this stuff going on, Facebook pulls away Reels bonuses.
Yeah. Right. Well, what I think, look, the way TikTok to me is like a funnel. Like I'll know that when we put up a video on TikTok and it starts getting in the millions, I can watch the subscribers. I can watch it. Like, let's say over the course of 2 weeks, one of the videos gets 3 million hits. I can literally see my subscribers go up for exactly 3 weeks. And then as soon as that stops trending and stops getting views, it immediately starts going down.
It's the best tunnel out of any social media platform, by far. Like I was surprised. Like when I knew it was gonna do good when the video started going well. Then it took like a couple days because I got a couple clips out of you. And I was like, okay, what the fuck? It's like 300 views. The fuck? Like Jesus Christ. Like
right.
And then the next day we wake up, we're like, fuck, 5,000. And the next day we're like, you're watching it cracking during the day, refreshing it.
Yeah.
And just like watching it nonstop. I'm like, God damn, it keeps going. And then your TikTok gets on like a your account gets on like a hot streak. I'm like, I could post anything right now.
Yeah.
Like we were just making comments back to people because people were like, how could you laugh at what he did? And we were making like, jokes about it.
Yeah.
We love fucking with people in the comments.
People get so, it's funny because like on my channel, for every, 50 comments in a video, you'll get one person who's just so overly offended and it's like, it's like, okay, well, like that was 20 years ago. Like I went to prison for 13 years. Do you think, am I supposed to cry every time I recount this story? Like if that's what like get off your high horse and, it just kills me that people, there are those, those whatever Karens or whatever you want to call them that are out there.
Literally.
They shouldn't view the channel because people are coming to you. They're not they're coming to you because you have a story and you can relate with these guys on a different level than like a regular interviewer could, right? Because you've done stuff yourself, so you understand like your own things and their own things somewhat. So it's like that's why people are coming to you. If people don't get that, they don't get it. It's just you're never gonna convince these fucking people.
Right. And it's like, why did you watch the channel? Like you knew what the video was. Like this shouldn't have been a shock to you. You didn't think you were watching two priests have a conversation about Jesus. Like you knew it's true crime. It says true crime. It says that the guy's the dark web kingpin selling drugs. Like you didn't see this comment. This is going to be about some stuff.
It's like being offended at a comedy show. It's like the same idea.
Yeah, it's exactly the same idea.
So is that dude fucked right now?
Who?
Did he get indicted? You're the kingpin guy.
Oh, he had already been indicted.
Okay.
No, he'd already been indicted.
Sentenced, I should say.
He was telling me the story. He was about to be sentenced in a few weeks. So we held it for a month. He ended up getting 5 years. Certainly not everything he did. Mm-hmm. It was, they had made several controlled buys. They eventually tracked it back. They grabbed him. He got 5 years. If they call it ghost dope. Like they'll measure, like we bought from you over the course of 6 months. Every 2 weeks, we bought this much. And that's how much we got. And we know you've been doing it for 2 years. So now we're just going to add that up for 2 years.
Oh, really? That's how they do it?
Right. And so you're like, well, wait a minute. You only got a pound of drugs. But you just calculated 15 pounds. Yes, because we can calculate, they call it ghost dope. We can calculate that that's what you've been selling. And then, of course, then they may end up saying, and we talked to 5 of these other people that you've been selling to, and they say they've been buying from you this much for the same period of time. So now that 15 pounds is now 120 pounds. And before you know it, you're going, oh my God, like you're looking at 30 years and you're like, this is insane. Like, and that the argument is, of course, that but the truth is you probably did sell that much stuff.
True.
Which I think is insane. Like it's still like, look, if you add everything up for everything that everybody ever did, then nobody will ever get out of prison. The sentences are that insane. But the guy ended up getting 5 years. And, it's funny, too, because he had he's such a jovial guy. Like, he's like, he's kind of laughing and this, and I could have talked to that dude forever. You ever get those guys, you're like, I could just listen to this guy forever. Like and then you get these other guys that would have a great story, but they're so, just, like monotone and, well, then what happened was, and it's like, Jesus, bro. Like, I got to wrap this up. Like, I'm trying not to yawn. I'm drinking an energy drink. I'm like, listen, we got to take a break for a second. And I'll go to the bathroom. I'll walk around. I'll drink something. I'll be like, okay, I'm back. Hey,
honestly, man, we have enough here. I think we can make a great video.
4 minutes in. Let's wrap it up, huh?
Okay.
That's funny.
I'm good.
That's hilarious.
I'm good.
No, I was talking about you to those guys.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No, we weren't saying.
No, not to you.
No, we're good. Let's wrap this. Let's cut this shit out. Let's wrap this shit up.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, like, I keep saying that to one of these guys. They're like, they'd be like, yeah, I haven't even been arrested yet. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, have you ever watched the videos of my buddy Zach?
Zach, no.
Zach's
don't think so.
a black guy. He ran a scam. He ran just a ton of scams. But and he's got a channel. He just started out his own channel. This guy, you know, for a knucklehead, because he does knucklehead stuff, is brilliant.
Really?
So my favorite one of his scams, I just did this because I tell you this one thing you're gonna go, oh, I gotta talk to this guy. Zach came up with a scam after meeting a guy. He can tell you the whole thing in a probably better. And he's a good storyteller. He came up with a scam where he was cashing checks. And so he actually paid a guy that worked in the fraud department of Bank of America to meet him. So he starts talking to this guy. They meet at like a Shoney's or something, whatever, some restaurant. Mm-hmm. And the guys, he's asking, like, he's like, if I bring in a check, how long do they hold this? How much does the guy tells him everything? He gives him like, whatever, like $1,000. And Zach's like, okay, thanks. And he goes to get up and the guy goes, wait a second. He goes, do you have another $1,000? Zach goes, yeah. He goes, give it to me. He goes, I'm going to give you something. He goes, okay, what's that? He said, so here's what happens, and there's nothing we can do about it. He said, now most people can't pull this off. He goes, but you seem like you've got your shit together. You might be able to figure this out. He goes, what's that? He said, by law, there's something called the Electronic Transfer Act, right? He said, by law, if money is removed from your account and you say it's not you, we have to put the money back in the account. He said, so periodically people will have a bank account open. They'll have $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, and they will go and remove $6,000. And we feel like it's them, but they say, nope, that wasn't me. And he said, we have to give them the money back immediately. He goes, Bank of America only investigates fraud in those cases over $10,000. And he said, because they said, there's just no way we're going to get the money back. We're not going to prosecute it. We can't track it down. And we're just spending more money to end up with not getting our money back. He said, these things happen all the time. And by law, there's just nothing we can do but give them their money back. And so Zach goes, okay, thank you. Got up. He said, I gave him $1,000. I left. And this is a scam that Zach put together. Zach thought to himself, I need to get people to open up accounts and put money in the accounts, but not in their name. So he gets a guy that can make fake IDs. So that they end up getting information. They buy information from people with their information on it. They make fake IDs in the name of, let's say, John Rockefeller. So he makes an ID with your picture on it, with Dominic's picture on it. Dominic goes into the bank, opens up an account. Only Dominic goes into 3 different banks. Bank of America, TD whatever, Wells Fargo, whatever, 3 different ones. Opens up an account with, like, say, $11,000. He then orders a debit card. He then gets a debit card, and they clone the debit card. They then mail it to somebody 5 states away. So you're in Florida, they mail it to somebody in Iowa. That person walks into a U.S. postal, post office. They sell money orders there. They walk in, they say, hey, I need to buy 8 $1,000 money orders. And they go, okay. They put them up, they go, swipe your card. They pull out the cloned card and they swipe it. It's just a piece of plastic. They swipe it, they punch in the PIN number. Boop, boop, boop. They get the $8,000, $9,000 in money orders, under $10,000, walk outside and say, they call, John Rockefeller or Tom Rockefeller. Well, they call Zach and they go, okay, I just took out the money. Zach calls the guy. Dominic walks back in the bank. 10 minutes have gone by and says, hey, I need to get out $9,000. I need to get out $9,500. And the bank goes, okay, hold on, Mr. Rockefeller. They go like this and they go, oh, wow. You only have $500 in your account. What are you talking about? I have over $10,000. And they go, no, you just removed $9,000 or $8,000, whatever it was, out of your account. And he goes, when? Like 10 minutes ago. Where? In Iowa. Do you have your debit card? I've got it right here.
Oh my God.
And they go, oh, wow, you need to talk to Betty, the manager. They go, he walks over, sits down with Betty. Betty checks and goes, oh my God. I'm so sorry, Mr. Rockefeller. We'll put that money back in your account by 12 o'clock tonight. No problem. He then gets up and he drives over and he goes to Wells Fargo. He walks in. He asks to get $9,000 out. They go, oh, wow, you only have $1,100 in your account. What?
No way. That's a good fucking
So
scam.
think about it. $9,000. That's $27,000. Only every time Zach sent somebody off to do this, he didn't give them one fake ID. He gave them 3. So each person opens up 9 accounts. 9 times 7. Pretty sure that's $63,000. So they would make $63,000. And then the guy goes back in the next day, by the way, and says, listen, I want to close out my account. I'm not saying you guys did anything wrong at the bank. I just don't feel comfortable. They close the account out. They leave. They got all the money back. They have to do it. So here's the thing. Where do you get people to do this? Like, you can't ask your buddy Timmy who works at Walmart to do it. Like, you can't ask your buddy who sells insurance to do it. They're like, well, you fucking out of your mind? Where do you find criminals? He and his wife would go downtown. They'd go to the courtroom, and during your first arraignment, they would just sit in the courtroom all day. And he said all day people would get their first arraignment, and they walk in and their lawyer says, or the prosecutor says, Your Honor, we arrested Mr. John Thomas here. John was arrested for check fraud. He's been arrested 3 times for credit card fraud. We're asking for no bail, or we're asking for $10,000 on bail. Do you have it? And he said, no, I don't have it, Your Honor. They go, okay, well, and then they put him in jail. Zach would sit there all day and write down names. And then he'd find out who couldn't get bond. And then he'd write them a letter and say, I can get you out on bond. Call this phone number. And he put $50 on their books. They'd call the phone number and say, yeah, who's this? He'd go, listen, man. He'd say, I was at your arraignment. I know you've done credit card fraud and all these things. I can get you out on bond. When you get your property, there will be a phone and information in your property. His wife would go into the property section of the sheriff's department and say, hey, I'm here for John, whatever the guy's name is, John Smith. I need to add, he left his cell phone. Can I put it in his property? They say, sure, no problem. They put an envelope with money, instructions, and a drop phone in that. So when they'd bond him out, and when the guy gets his property, he's got a phone in it. So he picks up the phone, he calls the phone number, and they'd say, look, go down the street to the motel. We're going to need for you to take some photos of yourself and email them to us. So he'd take pictures of himself with the camera, email them to him. He would make a fake ID, drop off the fake ID. They never meet Zach. They just have a phone.
Genius.
That's smart.
He'd say, I'm putting you on a plane. Here's what you're going to do. And of course, this guy's a career fraudster or crime gross. He'd like, yeah, no problem. And Zach said, look, you might get 4 of these guys out and maybe only 1 actually does it. He goes, but they never meet me. And he said they would be good for 2 or 3 of these things. So they make $100,000 to $150,000. He's in there also drug addicts. So they end up doing drugs. They disappear. They get arrested, whatever. But he said at the moment there was a problem, he said, I just pull the SD card or the SIM card. What is it? SIM card?
Yeah, SIM card.
SIM card out, and I chuck it and stick another one in, and that guy's gone. He goes, what does it matter? I just I'll make $100,000, $200,000 off the guy. I can ditch him. He made a third of whatever he collected.
That is an insanely
that is so crazy.
How long did he do that for?
elaborate,
Years.
good plan.
What's his full name? Tom.
Who?
Zach what? What's his full name?
His full name is actually Isaac Allen.
How did he get caught?
He's on my channel, bro. I've interviewed him a bunch of times.
Okay.
Yeah, let's watch that.
Listen.
We would love to talk to him.
Listen, you should get, like, he can go, he literally could, his story, if he tells it, it's a 2-hour story. That's the short version. He has so many different scams that he ran over. He's been in and out of jail his whole life. But almost all of them are just brilliant. But then he'll get arrested for something that's like so stupid. You know, he's one of those guys who's got $1 million in the bank and he's got 300,000 in cash, and then he buys like a hotel room with a fake credit card. You're like, what?
You're like, bro, come on.
You're worth millions. He's like, I know, but why would I pay for the room? I got a fake credit card because now I'm going to come arrest you if the card is bad. I know, I didn't think about that.
Some shit I would do.
Yeah, that is you. That is you.
You guys are consulting these guys, I think, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I feel like.
Criminal consulting.
Super smart guy though, and he's personable, funny. Like he will get some views.
Yeah.
And
I would
people
love to have
him
him
on my channel. Like they're always asking me to have him come back.
Yeah. If you could do an intro for us, I would love that.
Yeah, I'll
us
shoot
up.
you his. I'll shoot you his stuff because especially because it's a StreamYard, it's not like super obtrusive, and
Yeah,
you
it's
can
easy.
pitch his channel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, he might get. I mean, with the size of your channel, he may get a dozen new subscribers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe.
Hey, maybe after this one, we'll be able to give him
Maybe
2
we can
dozen.
get him- yeah, we can get him 20.
Yeah, he's great. Gosh, what is that? Yeah, that Alan. I'm gonna shoot you his. It's so difficult. Okay, I got these. You know, you guys don't realize I have these little tiny hands. There it is. Yeah, you could probably send him an email, or you could text him. Tell
Yeah,
them,
that'd be great.
and I'll tell
I
him.
just got it.
Dope.
Are we good? Or
Yeah, we got more than enough, man. We got more than enough.
my wife's
you.
gonna be giving me looks and stuff. I'm
Nah,
gonna
you're good, man. I appreciate it again.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much, and thanks for all the advice as well.
When we
appreciate it.
finish up, I'll tell you some stuff and we'll wrap
right.
it up, okay?
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you guys for
Later.
watching.
ya.
Later.